What are you going to say, Archie? What are you going to say? I'm not going to look at your daughter because she's going to throw me off. I'm not going to look at her.
The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk, WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Here we go.
Let's figure it out on the Archie Beslow radio show. He cares, he shares, he knows. The journey of our youth is in our control. So tell your family and tell your friends that the word on the street is we all should listen in. So let's figure it out on the Archie Beslow radio show.
Well, good evening. Thank you once again for tuning into the Archie Beslow show. Let's figure it out. You know, I always have to thank God Almighty. I have to thank my mom, my dad, all my family members, my friends, people that I know, people that I don't know, just the masses that support me in my endeavors and the things that I do. This is Breast Cancer Awareness Month and also Domestic Violence Month. And I wanted to end this month with a show covering those topics. It's sad, it's a very sad, it's all sad. And you guys know Archie get choked up when it comes to sensitive things, so allow me to regroup. I should have pre-talked before I got on the air, but you know, I like to come, real. I don't like to be programmed or faking about what I'm talking about. But I do want to send prayers out to breast cancer victims, domestic violence victims. And I hope all the family members that are associated with people that are going through these situations, give them an abundance of love, not just for this month, but on a daily basis. I don't like when we get caught up on just paying attention to people that are going through things because the world has designated a month to bring awareness to it. I think that should be spoke about every day, all day. I think you should call that person that's been in a domestic violence situation every day. I think you should call that person that's going through breast cancer or that has survived breast cancer every day. Because when they were going through it, their minds were all over the place. So we should all come from a place of encouraging them to stay strong even once they come through the storm. We have to support one another. And that goes with a lot of things in life. We can't just be involved when it's taking place at that moment, and then when you're done with that moment, you kind of just forget about the person and go on about your life. That's not fair. And that's how we are as a society. We weep, and then if we check on a person and they say they good, then we become good. So do you really care about that person? If you can just touch them for that moment and pray with them for that moment, and then you just step off and they never hear from you again. So were you really sincere about dealing with that person? But yet we can text someone or we can call someone and talk about things that don't mean anything on a daily basis. And you all know it. You guys would call our co-workers or call our friends and talk about something that came on TV or something that you heard in the streets. You can talk about that for days and days and days. But yet we want people to phone every day to check on a loved one that was going through something. So I'm going to stop right there. Like I was telling my guests, I never know where I'm going to go with it, but I have this dream that the world at some point is going to be sincere across the board in how we interact with the ones we love.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right? So so without further ado, I want to thank my guests for actually reaching out to me to come on the show, and that speaks volumes to who you are, where you're trying to go, and the message and the mission that you are about. So I'm going to allow you to introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Maritza Gabriel. I'm the CEO of a nonprofit organization called Enough Cries, which I began at 2014, and it is still going strong.
Outstanding. So let's go ahead. Let's get into the story. Where did Enough Cries come from? And matter of fact, let's start from the beginning, because a lot of people, I have a lot of listeners from all ages. So we have young listeners, young adults, and we also have seniors. So I always like to have my guests to tell their story.
Absolutely. I will begin with I was raised in a domestic violence home. My parents were very abusive. My dad was abusive towards my mom. For many years, we dealt with that as a child. And I always told myself that as a little girl, when I get older and I become adult, I said I would never marry a man like that. Although I love my dad, but the harm and the damage that he was doing to my mom, I always said, I'm never going to marry a man like that. And my mom is absolutely crazy for staying with my dad.
Mm-hmm. So what are some of the other things? So what are some of the things that you actually encountered? And at that age, at a young age, what did you do to help yourself to get through it?
Pretty much at that age, you learn to block a lot of damage that's done to you as a child. You tend to hide it within yourself. And I was really good at it. Not every time that I smiled, it was a happy, a joyful smile. It was more of a pretend smile to just not allow anyone to know what was happening in our household. Because, again, back in the days you were taught what goes home stays home. Right. You don't share that with anybody. So we were really good in pretending that our home was the ideal home.
Right. And how old were you at the time?
I was 5 years old.
5. Wow. And you remember things that happened at the age of 5.
Absolutely.
And that's funny because in my previous shows, I will often tell my listeners that you'll be surprised at what young people can retain and the things that they go through and the things that they see and the things that actually carry them through their adulthood and they never relinquish it.
Exactly.
So that's very valuable. So as a 5-year-old, and like I said, you will block it out. So what was the kind of conversations your mom would have with you, knowing that she was going through it? So what were some of the things she would tell you?
Everything was, we always pretend to be okay. It was never discussed. It was never brought up. Everything was always okay. And I grew with that, saying, this is normal. I'm not going to know anything out of this household. So what I saw growing up and what I learned growing up, that became a norm to me.
Right. So, and you have kids of your own. So what are some of the things as a parent that you was telling them indirectly to teach them to not be abusive or to teach them respect based off of what you went through?
Well, first of all, I would start with my kid. I have 3 kids.
Okay.
They saw more than they should have seen.
Okay.
And I say that as to, I put myself in a domestic violence situation. At the age of 15, I was also raped.
Okay.
That was another thing that I had hidden within myself for many, many years. And in my late 20s, my kids actually saw a lot of things that children at that age should not see.
Okay.
And a few things were almost losing their mom, being hospitalized, just in general, things that a child should not see, which affected their ability to learn. The fear to other people, anytime voices escalated, they would just get really nervous, about it. Even up to now that they're young adults, if they're in a situation where somebody raises their voice or escalates their voice, they kind of push back and they pause for a second, this is not normal.
And so your kids are now like young adults.
Yeah.
Right. So do they oftentimes come back and say, "Hey, Mom, I'm going through this, or this situation happened. How should I handle it?" Based off of what they went through coming up.
I have a really good relationship with my kids based on what I've been through in the past. I always wanted them to be open with me, especially my daughters. I never wanted them to hold back on relationships. I wanted them to be able to come and talk to me as far as what is normal, what is not normal, what is a loving person, what is not a loving person, because the relationship that I was in, he was a loving man.
Okay.
He was not always an abusive man. He was a loving man when he was sober. But as time went on, I got my independence. I started working, doing things on my own. That's when jealousy kicked in.
Okay.
And once that jealousy kicks in, that's a whole different level. That's a whole different scenario.
And do you believe that, and this is my belief, I think that people that are inebriated or that drink a lot, they still are coherent to know their actions. Because I always tell people, if someone is overwhelmingly drunk and they have like an hour ride to get home, they make it home. So as a younger person, I used to give people a pass when they have like deficiencies, like whether being drunk or high or something. But when you get older, you realize, well, nah, because what they say, when somebody's drinking, when they speak, they're speaking the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So if a person that's drinking, if they're speaking the truth, then their actions, they are aware of their actions. And so they also know in the back of their mind that they can use that as an excuse to actually do what they really want to do anyway. So they allow the alcohol or whatever enhancements to give them a pass to do wrong.
Well, my situation wasn't just alcohol. My situation started the alcohol and weed, and then it escalated to cocaine. So my home became a place where it was being dealt with the public. He was selling cocaine from the household, and I wasn't aware of it. And it was a matter of me also saving myself from getting out to opposed to losing my kids to the county.
Okay. And you also shared with me that some threats came about in the relationship.
Yes. We'll begin with the abuse. The beating started when I started working and became independent.
Okay.
He was very clever with it. I say clever because he always hit me and scarred me where people can't see. So he would hit me on my back, bruise my back, my chest, my legs, where people can if I'm out, no one's gonna see all my bruises.
Yes, ma'am.
After that, it became even worse because now he was threatening me to kill me, or he would get someone to kill me. So I was pretty much, to me, I felt like I was pretty much stuck in a situation because I feared for my life.
Okay.
And I always wondered, am I going to be able to be a good provider for my kids?
Right.
Because even though he was under the influence and he was doing what he was doing, he was still providing for my household.
Right. And that's the kind of a smokescreen that a lot of people that can't get out of their situation, they try to find, they try to find some, I call it staying power. They try to find an excuse to stay. And a lot of people do it out of fear, and then some people do it out of because they just can't afford to do anything else. And I often ask this question. So the family support, is that something that you just kept to yourself, or you told your family about what was going on?
Again, since I was raised that way with my mom, I kept that to myself. I never spoke about it. I never shared it with anyone. That was a struggle that I was struggling every day within myself. Hospital visits became a norm to me.
Okay.
I became very familiar with the staff at the emergency room.
Wow.
But I never ratted him out. I always just pretty much went in for treatment and left and never ratted him out about it.
All right, please, the number is 800-450-7876, 800-450-7876. Please call in and let us know if you know of anyone that has suffered through domestic violence that needs help. Maritza is here to share information and also to give you feedback of what she went through. It's a very sensitive matter, but it has to be talked about. Things in life that are very sensitive and detrimental to our well-being, it needs to be talked about. And there are a lot of people that are going through things that don't have anyone to talk to. And just like your situation, if it happened in a household, keep it in the household.
Correct.
And we've had a lot of people that have committed suicide, that have attempted to commit suicide based off of so much anxiety that they just don't want to face anything or anybody. And you also spoke that you had dealings with suicidal thoughts.
Absolutely.
Did you elaborate on that, if you can?
When you're at your lowest point in life and you know that you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel, all you see is darkness, and you've been in the darkness for years and years and years, I couldn't see the light to the tunnel.
Okay.
And I basically, I was brought up as a Christian. I have Christian beliefs. I believe in God. And I prayed every day, like, God, is this what you have for me? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you choosing me to go through this? I never got an answer to that question. Okay. So I felt unloved.
Okay.
And at my lowest point, I did I tried to commit suicide. I'm so thankful and blessed that I wasn't successful at it. And I'm still here to talk about it and encourage other women because I would have left 3 kids that I love very much.
And like I said, there are listeners that, and just off of that alone, you may have probably saved at least 3 or 4 lives without even knowing that you actually saved it. That's why it's so important for people to be transparent and for people to help others based off of their testimonies. What advice can you give someone that may have suicidal tendencies that you wish you would have done prior to getting to that point?
I would have sought for help.
Okay.
I absolutely would have sought for help because if I would have been successful committing suicide, I would not be able to be here today or see my kids grown up, young adults, my grandkids. I would not be able to have seen that or experienced that happiness.
What do you say about the people that are fearful of how someone is going to judge them? They're embarrassed, shameful. There's a lot of that going on because it's amazing how families can judge someone without knowing what they're going through, but they're judging them based off of their actions, not knowing why they're even acting the way they're acting because you're not asking a question. In a lot of cases, when people are going through something, especially if they're family members, if you can see that a person's mentality is changing, their body language is different, or their actions are different, we need to pull them up and just have a conversation. And we live in a world where people say, hey, I don't want to be bothered with it. And I don't think it's fair. That's why we are what we are, because we want to deal with the easy conflicts, but we don't want to deal with the real conflicts. So what is some of the advice you can give my listeners that know of someone that's going through something, but they just don't know how to approach that person?
I feel like people that see us, and I'm going to put myself in this situation.
Yes, ma'am.
People that see us are very quick to judge. We're either stupid, we're ignorant, we have no self-esteem. It's all the negative, and I feel like that's why we hold back on a lot of to speaking out because we don't want to be judged. And it's not a matter of being judged. I think family is the worst critic. If we go to family, it's just the first thing that comes out of their mouth is like, so why are you there? Like, why are you being stupid right now? You're staying with this man and you're backing him up. We just need a listening ear.
Okay.
Open that door. Say, hey, when you're ready, I know you're going through something. This is out of your character. When you're ready to speak, I'm here for you. Just that alone gives us that opening door and says, you know what, I can go to her or I can go to him and not be judged.
And that's a very valid point. And we often, I come from a place of, I always tell people to allow a person to talk. And what I've done in the past, I will have someone talk to me and I will say, do you want me to give you advice or do you just want me to listen? If people will actually start conversations off that way, you're actually making a person feel good about even talking to you because you're giving them an option. So now you're saying that I'm actually coming to help you. I'm not coming to get your business. I'm coming to help you. So when I tell my listeners, try implementing that. You can implement that even with your kids. If someone that you know and love is going through something, say, hey, I see that something is going on. I want to help you. I can help you in the form of listening, or I can help you in the form of giving you advice. But please do not walk away from me until we actually address the situation. And I think lives will change.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people come from a place of, and my show is very repetitive because I'm a solution-based show. I like to repeat things so people can get it. If we are sincere with whom we're talking to about their situation, that will begin the healing process. Because if you're hurting, Maritza, and I come to you and say, hey, you don't look well, something's going on, you can feel if I'm being genuine or if I'm being nosy.
Right. You're right.
And there are some people that, they're so, this world is crazy because you're dealing with something that's very delicate. When you reached out to me, and I'll be honest, when you reached out to me to come on the show, and everybody know I'm a sensitive dude, I'm like, wow, I didn't even know you, and I felt bad. I felt for you. And that's because it's so many people, and even if you're a stranger, that's one other thing. People, if you don't know a person, you kind of don't feel for the person. You ever came across people like that?
I'm rare. I feel for everybody. I mean,
that's a blessing.
I'm really rare.
That's
I feel like God has given me a heart of just gold because I feel for everybody. I want to help everybody.
And it comes from a place because you've been through so much.
Yeah, I think it's because I've been through so much that, and I didn't have anything at one point in my life that when I see somebody in need or I don't even have to know what they're going through, it's like I have that connection. And I'm like, here you go, what do you need? How can I help? And that's the first thing I always ask, like, how can I help?
If people will align their spiritual connection with others, that in itself would start the dialogue.
Mm-hmm.
People say they believe in God, they believe in Allah, whomever you believe in. Everyone has some type of spiritual connection with everybody they come in contact with. It's that we don't act on the connection for fear of people, I guess, unleashing our shortcomings. And I'm like you, I would talk to anyone about anything. Mm-hmm. Because at the end of the day, the conversation that you and I will have, it will actually help me grow. Because you're supposed to actually talk to someone so that you can better yourself as well. And that's the only time in life I think someone should be selfish. If you're actually talking to someone so that they can help you in return while you're helping them. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
But it is a problem when somebody is trying to or have a hidden agenda to either point out negative things about a person or to be, I call it one up. We live in a society where people always try to one up you.
Okay.
Like you have a lot of good things going for you. So you'll have a lot of people attacking you based off of your appearance, based off of all the things you're doing with Enough Cries, you taking trips to Baltimore to help. Anytime you're out giving of yourself, there's going to always be someone out there trying to attack you. And I want to commend you. I think you're doing, well, I know you're doing a great job. We're going to take this, yes ma'am. Well, we're going to take this phone. We have a phone call, Nikki. We have Mr. Pratt on the line. Charles, you on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
How you doing? Thank you for calling the Archie Beslow Show.
Thank you. I guess I was a guest of Miss Maritza. She wanted to shout out our program, but I know you guys are talking about something really serious with the domestic violence.
Oh, I heard your program is serious. Hey.
I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Without a doubt, it all connects.
Absolutely. I really think because we're not a domestic violence program, we are just a mentoring program for young people. Mm-hmm. But I think it's never too early to start teaching our young men and our young ladies about domestic violence and what to look out for and what to be aware of. Okay. And see the signs of.
So what does your organization actually does? And Miss Maritza was telling me a little bit about it. You kind of prep guys on how to handle young ladies?
Well, it's not just that. So our program is called One More, One Less Mentoring. Okay. What we are a comprehensive program where we focus on academics, life skills, mental and physical and spiritual fitness, community involvement, and parental support. Okay. And so what we do is we try to make our young people more well-rounded. Okay. And giving them the tools that they're going to need before they step up into the world of adulthood. Okay. Outstanding. All right. Well, if you want to, you can give us information about your organization, where how people can reach you, how can they contact you? Absolutely. Well, we're on Facebook as One More, One Less Mentoring. Okay. We're on Instagram as well, OMOL Mentoring, one word. Okay. Our website is omolmentoring.org. We can also reach us by phone, 443-257-5536. All right. Well, thank you for your time, man. And by all means, never think that what you're doing is, you know what I mean, less or more serious than, because it all ties in. And that's another thing, too. People
if you're helping someone, you're helping someone. And there's no levels of how much you're helping. The key thing is to help and just do your part to bring change. And I want to commend you and thank you for your services.
I appreciate it, and thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for having this, and in-depth conversation.
Yes, sir.
So many people that are out here who are either suffering through it or, and not knowing it, or suffering through it and they do know it and they do need the help.
Outstanding.
And sometimes they need that extra little, push to help them to get out of that situation. So I applaud you and Ms. Maritza for telling our stories and getting this information out there to the people.
Outstanding. Thanks a lot, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right, yes, sir. So I have a question, Miss Arlene George Green, and you can answer this, Maritza. Can you address when you made the decision to seek help and why?
Well, I would never forget the one incident that we were at a party, a house party, and he broke I'm not sure if you guys know a Colt 45.
Oh, you know Colt 45.
And
I had one before.
we won't go there.
No, ma'am.
This particular night, he actually cut my throat. I ended up going to the hospital, obviously, and since I became a regular at the emergency room, they got a plastic surgeon to really take care of my scar, which I'm very appreciative. But while I was there was this one nurse that kept seeing me in and out of the emergency room, and she came to me very, very sincere heart. I would never forget that day. She told me, I've been there before.
Wow.
And you keep defending him, but I know what you're going through. And she gave me a poem, and she placed it in my hand, and the poem was, I got flowers today. And that poem, the minute I read that poem, and at the end, it said that I got flowers, but it wasn't my birthday, it wasn't no special occasion, it was my funeral.
Wow.
At that moment, it just clicked. And it made me think, man, this could be my funeral. And no matter if I tried to commit suicide, no matter what I was going through, at that moment, it was like I saw my funeral. It just flashed in my eyes, and I was like, okay, I have to do something. And still, I didn't reach out to anyone. I went home. I ended up calling a cousin that lived here in the state of Virginia, and I told her, I need to get out or he is going to kill me. She asked no questions. She just said, come on, get the kids and come on. And that's what I needed at that point. I didn't need to be asked any questions. I didn't need to be judged. When she said, just get the kids and come on, that was my goal. That was just like, okay. And I left overnight. I got a U-Haul, grabbed the kids, and I ended up in Virginia that same night.
And Nikki know me. Nikki know when I raise up on my chair, I'm about to go all in. But I'm gonna keep it calm because it frustrates me. I'm gonna leave it at that. It frustrates me because there are so many women that are going through so much, and there's so many people that look past what they're going through, and then the ones that don't make it like you made it, there's so many people that feel guilty for not responding. It don't take you a fraction of a second to, even if a person just hold a person. If I didn't know you and I saw you and you was weeping or whatever, if I was just to hold your hand,
that's enough.
Come on, man.
That would be just enough.
And people, and I get it. We live in a society of we don't know how to approach one another. But if you believe in God, and whatever your religion is, whatever your faith is, if you do something out of sincerity, it's going to magnify, and that person's going to get it. Because in a lot of cases, you can just stand with someone and say, I don't know what you're going through, but I'm going to stand right here with you to make sure you're okay.
And that was a lot of times that I felt alone. A lot of times I felt alone. A lot of times I cried myself to sleep. I was very combative with God. And I say this, because I know as Christians, we shouldn't question.
No, it's not. You're not questioning. It's real. And there's a lot of people that feel the way you feel. So you don't have to say it and cover it because he knows where your heart is. We are human. We are imperfect people.
Right.
There's been many times when someone has died and went on, and and we get angry at God for that moment, but we get a chance to come back, you know, and put it in perspective. So by all means, if you felt that way.
Yeah, I was very combative. I was very combative with God, and I was very angry because I couldn't understand why.
Right.
Why would you put me in a situation when I wasn't a bad person? You know, I didn't do anything bad.
Right.
I did put myself in a bad situation, but to go through what I went through, I became very angry, and I would never forget the hatred I had towards him. It was just such an emotional roller coaster ride.
Right.
But I'm so thankful that I'm here today, and I went to a service, a women's service, and in that service it was about forgiveness.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just getting off from work, and I was like, I ain't going to church today. I'm just going to go straight home. But my car just went straight to the parking lot to church.
Come on, man.
And the service was about forgiveness.
Come
and
on,
I'm
man.
sitting in the back, and I'm like, how can I forgive someone that raped me and took my childhood away at 15? A father that left me and beat my mom. And, you know, now in the relationship that I was in, that this man almost killed me. I couldn't understand that. I was like, how can you forgive? I had a heart like a rock, because in order for me to move forward and be a good mom and provide for my kids, I had to develop a heart,
Amen.
a stone heart. But I felt like that was a way of my beginning.
Yes, ma'am.
And I always tell people, God had to break me, and if this was the only way he had to break me to get me on track to do what he wanted me to do, I'm grateful.
Wow.
I'm super grateful for what he has done in me, that I'm able to be a blessing to someone else.
You are a walking, living testimony, which a lot of people don't appreciate, but there are so many people that do. And I'm going to say this. God I don't know the right wording, but I'm going to say it, and people can decipher it however they want it. God put you in a situation, and you came through the situation, and you're sitting before me today and in front of my listening audiences, and you're able to smile, share your story, and still talk about the glory of God, which means you are winning. And everybody that came before you, that tried to hurt you, that tried to stop you, that tried to end your life and all that, they're going to be dealt with. They've been dealt with because it made you a stronger woman, which is going to make you a great wife, which is going to make you a great mom, and which is going to make you a great person to actually help people that are going to come before you. So you're winning. And the mere fact, and I'll be honest, when I said I'm going to do this interview today, and I told my engineer, I said, you know, this is one of those shows where, you know, it's a serious show. But once again, just based off the glory of God, you're in here smiling, which makes me feel great about the interview, because now I can be me. You know what I mean? And it all connects. People don't realize when you go through so much, you don't have to shut down and be angry with the world.
Absolutely not.
And that's where a lot of us, we lose out on our blessings, because we're mad at other people that had nothing to do with where we came from.
You're right.
And that same people that you're angry with and that you're shutting off could be the main ones that can help you when you go through your next crisis. Come on, man. Y'all, I'm about to start. And like I say, I love people that are transparent. I love people to share their story, because we live in an imperfect world. We live in a world that lacks quality information. Now, people always say, yeah, you can Google it and do all that. That's cool. But to actually hear someone's testimony and still be able to stand on your own 2 feet, still be able to share your story, and still be able to smile, that's priceless. That's a healing power that everyone possesses, but it takes people like yourself to even have people think that they can recover.
And it's my joy is because I have so much joy, because it's like I know where I've been.
Yes, ma'am.
I know where what God has put me through.
Amen.
And I know where I'm going with God. I see my vision, you know, and to me it's like I see the vision. Because I see the vision, I'm unstoppable because I have him by my side. Before I felt alone, but now it's just like I'm good. Like he's right beside me, walking every walk with me, taking every step with me, and placing people in my life to magnify his glory. You know, I have people that have been in my life and then they just fall out. And it's okay because I have learned from them. So we always say people are in our lives just for a season or for a reason. I've learned from people from my seasons. You know, and then God has placed people in my life for a reason. And they're there and they're still uplifting me and they're believing in what God has for me. So I'm good. Like I smile today because I am good. I'm blessed.
Amen. Nikki, we need 3 more mics. Every Sunday we get guests to come in the studio and make us just drop the mics. I think I done paid for both. Wow, God is good. He is so good. Man, testimonies, transparency is the key to changing lives. It's the key to healing people. Mm-hmm. It's the key to healing yourself. And I wasn't always that dude that was able to just be transparent because I will always try to protect myself by protecting everybody else that I think that I can affect. Mm-hmm. But once you learn that you can't help everybody, but it has to start with yourself. So when I start taking care of Archie first, then I was able to help people. But a lot of us go astray because we're trying to do so much for so many people that we forget who we are. We're going to take this caller because, man, that's right now, Maritza, man, you can talk all day. We got on the line. We got Miss Creel on the line.
I'm here.
Outstanding. Thank you for calling the Archie Beslow Show.
Hey, Archie. Thank you. Hi, my queen. Thank you so much for your transparency. It means a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had a conversation with Archie and I promised that I was going to call in. And my story goes something like this. I was abused as well. And I also had a son who was an abuser, so I see it from both sides. And I just wanted to come and tell you, and I heard Archie say about telling your story. Every time we tell our story, it gives us power.
Exactly.
Every time we tell our story, it frees us up. And it's a wonderful thing to be able to smile. It just is a testimony to the grace of God and how good God is to us. Amen. And we're still here because my daughter-in-law isn't still here. She didn't want to die. She was a victim and she didn't say anything. Nobody knew it. After the event, the incident, nobody saw it coming. Mm-hmm. And someone wrote on the feed that you have to get out, but you got to have a plan. Mm-hmm. She said she wanted out, and it was one of those cases where he didn't want her out.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
so
ma'am.
We have to educate the ladies about you just can't leave. You got to have a plan because the news is filled with domestic violence cases, issues where women are dying because they just made the decision to leave. You got to have a plan. I was one of the fortunate ones in my situation when he placed hands on me. I had a conversation with myself 20, 30 years ago that I didn't have Wilson or Spalding written on my face. So I wasn't a punching bag and I wasn't going to stay. So one time I got the courage to leave. I packed up the necessities and I left. There was intimidation. There was a lot of things going on, but I stayed gone. Everybody doesn't have that. So we do have to, we survivors, the ones that made it, we do have to reach back. Right. We have to get those young ladies. There's tons of ladies that are suffering. At my son's funeral, I told my pastor, there's an elephant in the room, and we need to evict him. So his memorial wasn't so much about remembering what had happened because, as you can imagine, there were spectators. People came to see what they could see.
Amen.
Right.
Yes, ma'am.
But what they saw that there was a therapist who specialized in domestic violence. There was a no-nonsense attitude. There was ladies positioned in the restroom because it was somebody in there. And we saved one person. One woman came and said, I need to get out of here. We had men coming and saying, that was me. I hit my wife. So we have to make people aware.
Right.
And we can't just help the sisters. We got to help the brothers, too. Because I don't believe that everybody that is the abuser wants to be an abuser. Everybody has a backstory. What's their backstory?
Right.
And we have to delve into that as well. I don't know exactly. I don't have an MC. I don't have anything behind my name. I'm just experienced because I lived it, and you know how that is when you live it. When you live it, and like you said, you're here, you're smiling because you survived.
Right.
We need to do something. We need to do better. We need to do something. And this show is a perfect example. There are groups out there. There are some wonderful women groups that are helping. But if we don't get the information out, that's why I'm so excited, Archie, about this show.
Yes, ma'am.
And how much you do for the community.
Thank you.
How much you inform the community. We need that. And we don't need it just on Sunday.
Amen.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, ma'am.
We got to do this. This should be maybe the Archie Beslow show should be an everyday show.
It's coming. Amen. Yes, ma'am.
You understand what I'm saying? It's a wonderful thing to be out of it. It's a wonderful thing to have survived it. And I don't know about you, but not you, Archie. Your guest. I don't know about you, but sometimes those skeletons still chase me around the room. And we have.
I agree with you because even though we are survivors and we're moving forward and helping other people with our testimonies, I'll be very honest with you. There is plenty of times that I do have nightmares. I'm not sure if you face something like that, but there's times when I have nightmares and what I've been through wakes me up. And I have to catch myself and be like, okay, I'm at a better place. I'm in a safe place right now. I'm home and I can go back to sleep. But there are times when I do have nightmares and they do wake me up and they seem so surreal. But, each time that I give my testimony and each time that I'm able to help somebody, that's a healing process for me.
It's the bomb. That's exactly what it is. It's the bomb. It heals us. But people just think that we should just move on. I know this is like time sensitive, so I don't want to take
now you good. I got you, sis. I have we have like a couple more calls on the line too, trying to get in.
No, and that's what I said. I'm just gonna go, but I wanted to take a minute because I said I would.
Yes, ma'am.
I wanted to acknowledge the sister for being transparent, and I really appreciate her sharing her story.
Thank you, and thank you so much for sharing your story with me.
Amen.
You're welcome. You're welcome. So, Archie, we'll talk later the week.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Good work.
Outstanding.
Hey, Archie.
Yes, ma'am.
Give her my number.
I will. Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Awesome.
I look forward to talking to you, sir.
All right.
Have a blessed day.
All right, we have another call on the line. Like I said, I love the callers calling in because that means we're reaching people and everybody has something to say. We have Miss Kimberly Reed on the air. Kimmy Kim?
Hey.
Hey, how you doing? Thank you for calling the Archie Beslow Show.
I'm glad that you guys are doing this show. I really, really am. This is so important and close to my heart as well. And the young lady, she is just beautiful, inside and out. I can already tell.
Thank you.
But what I wanted to do is I just wanted to say that I don't tell a lot of people that I was in a similar situation. It wasn't as bad as yours. But I did experience abuse at the hands of an ex-husband. And it gave me a PTSD effect. And the what I got from that is I started going back, when watching, my mother get hit by somebody and how she fought back and then she got out and then it happened to an aunt and a sister of mine, And then I got into a good marriage years and years forward, and all he did was reach out his hand to me one day. We were arguing, but he reached out his hand, but I immediately went back to what I was going through and lashed out and just punched him in the mouth. And so a lot of women, because they either don't get out fast enough or just because they got hit one time, we need to start recognizing that there's a PTSD effect in that too. And so what you're doing by, going through everything you've gone through and the fact that you chose to get out when you did, or you were able to get out when you did, and that you're sharing all of this, some of these women that are having PTSD, maybe they'll get counseling. Maybe they'll say, you know what, I'm going through this memory thing and this reliving it thing, but look what she has to, remember. Look what she goes back to. She goes back to being cut, to being, all these horrible things. And I'm looking at you and I'm like, you know what? God can deliver me from PTSD.
That's right.
Absolutely.
If he can deliver you.
This is for everyone. God can deliver all of us.
Claim it. Your deliverance, my deliverance, and every woman that's listening to you right now, girl, you are going to speak to the masses.
Yep.
And all the glory is to God.
Yeah, and I just thank God for you, and that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you for calling in. Appreciate you.
All right, love y'all. Bye.
Yes, man. Love you too. I'll say this, and I'm always gonna say it on all my shows, and I say this to get people to direct people to my shows, because for me, the Archie Beslow show is not meant for entertainment. I embarked in this mission and this vision to actually change lives and to allow people like yourself to share their testimonies, because that is the healing process. We have so many people that go to their graves with so much bottled up negativity on their heart, and it causes stress, high blood pressure, obesity, womenizing, drugs. I mean, it goes on and on and on, just based off of people keeping stuff inside of them because now they're seeking other avenues to release. Domestic violence, it can stop. It can. I think and I always talk about my guys, if you know a dude that you hang out with, roll with, or whatever, is hitting on this woman, choking her out, or cussing her out, if you truly is his friend, you're supposed to check that dude.
Absolutely.
Just like go ahead.
Well, I wanted just to run this by you. It's like, I have a program that I also volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club.
Okay.
And that's another way of me healing, reaching out and working with the youth. And one thing that the program, which I love, is working with the boys.
Okay.
And because I always speak to them as to, they feel like they have to be this tough guy, and to the girls, it's kind of cute if you push them or you're jealous. These are little signs that they're not even aware of that can lead to an abusive relationship as they get older. Yeah. So I feel that we need to work with our young men as to how to respect our young women and teach the girls that, no, it's not okay and it's not cute to hit on the boys and treat them that way either. So we have to start with them at a young age, so as they become adults, their view on life and how to treat one another is different.
And that goes back to like everything else. And I'm a football coach and a mentor. So it's like, if I mentor the young men or the young ladies, you also have to mentor the moms and the dads in their environments. There are a lot of people that have people like yourself or people like me that we engage them and they receive everything that we say, but they leave us and go back into the same environment. And for years, I think we have another call. You want to take a call?
Sure.
Okay, let's take one more caller. Who we got? Walter, you on the air? Hello, Walter?
Yeah.
Thank you for calling the Archie Beslow Show.
Yeah. It's a topic that is very much for me because I am a single black man. And it's hard to date in this day and age, especially when a woman has been. You don't see, because you don't see the physical abuse, but you now see the mental. And it's hard to just say hello if a woman has been abused how she's been through, how do we try to heal without being the enemy?
I'm trying to get the question. So
basically what he's saying, and me and you talk about this prior to it, you want to help someone, but you don't want the person that you helping thinking that you're just hating on their relationship, or you're just trying to be nosy and get involved.
Because I got it as to him, like, how would he reach out to a woman that's been abused? Is that the question?
Or his sister. Didn't you say I thought you said your sister. You're trying to help someone, or you're just.
Well, it's like if you fall in love with this person,
mm-hmm.
but you don't know that she wasn't, and yet you find out that when she is guarded or feels like, well, you're just like the boyfriend that you beat because I'm a man.
I can take a shot. I can give you one real quick, and Miss Maritza can do it. Off the break, you can just, prior to getting into any new relationships, and I know people are not going to do it, but you can actually grab someone's hand and say, hey, before we get into this, can we pray together?
Amen. I like that.
And what happens is that open doors. That lets a person know that women want to, off the first initial interaction, want to realize that the guy is different. And we as men don't realize that we all kind of started off the same way that everybody starts it off. So a woman's antenna would go up off just in the beginning. But if you do something off the break, say, hey, I don't know you and you don't know me. Let me share my stories. Let me share some of the things I don't like. And then in return, the young lady will say, okay, you know what? This is a first. Then she in return will share some of the things that she don't like. And that will begin the trust. And Miss Maritza, you can actually interact with that as well.
I'm working with trust issues every day.
Amen.
And I'm honest with it. I'm not one of those people that say I'm going to give you trust right off the bat. I'm not one of those people. Amen. I feel like you have to earn my trust. And in a relationship, I'm very upfront and honest and say, I do have trust issues and I'm working on it every day. And I need you to help me trust you, right, or help me get to that level where my relationship is a successful relationship.
But before I hang up, but is it two-way street? It's not always the woman, but also for me as a man. I hope you can trust me.
Right.
But if you keep putting your defenses up, then maybe is it worth it? Or
I would say, I'm going to interrupt you, I would say it's going to take a strong man to deal with a woman that's been through a lot. If you genuinely love her and she's being honest with you and telling you, hey, this is what I've been through and I do need your help. If he's willing to love you and accept you for who you are, then he's willing to work with you through it to make that relationship a strong relationship.
Well, God bless you both, and I hope to call you next Sunday. I hope to talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Outstanding. Thank you for calling us, sir. All right. Well, hey. So I'm gonna say
that was a good question because I get that a lot.
It was a good question.
That would be a good question.
But that goes back to from what we're talking about the whole transparency thing, mm-hmm, and the whole spiritual connection thing. So I do want to commend Miss Maritza. Her dynamite, phenomenal, strong, backboned husband is on the other side of the glass, and the reason why I say that because it takes a strong man to be strong for his mate in order for you to heal. You're going to be healing for the rest of your life. And just the interaction I had with this young man, I know that it's going to be all right. And I don't say that about any and everybody, but like I said, I'm a spiritual connector type of dude. Mm-hmm. My job is to detect vibes and spirits. And when I connect with good spirits, it makes me feel good because it lets me know that there are good people in this world.
Right. There are good people in this world. I always try to see the best in people. I'm a strong believer that everyone's good, although not everybody's good.
That's right. Child, please.
But I do want to close out. I guess we're reaching our time. Yeah. That you can, there's in every county, every city, there is a toll-free number for domestic violence, toll-free number, or you can even reach out to your local police stations and they would put you in a hotel room that night if they can't find a facility for you, and they will direct you to a facility the next morning. So you're not alone. There is always someone you can reach to in a facility that you can go to if you need out at that moment.
So give them the national domestic violence number that you have.
The national domestic violence, they're in English or in Spanish. It's 1-800-799-7233.
All right. So in closing, I think we only have. I told you the show's gonna go by fast. How much time we got, Sister Nikki? That's my dynamite engineer. She put up 3. Nikki just put up 2 fingers and a toe. Oh, just 2 fingers? Okay, we got 2 minutes to go.
2 minutes.
2 minutes. All right, I always think Nikki telling me peace. So once again, I want to thank you for being transparent. I want to thank you for trusting in me enough to come on my show and to share your story. And I want to tell you that you are changing lives and that you will continue to change lives. And I've learned something from you. I love having these shows because I learn a lot from my guests. Mm-hmm. I just keep up the good work. That's all I can say.
Thank you.
You know, so in closing, and let me throw something at you.
Sure.
If a woman comes running down the street and she's screaming, you know, he's trying to kill me, he's trying to kill me, what advice do you give? What should a person say to that person? You ain't got time to pause. That lady running down the street.
Me again, I speak on myself.
Mm-hmm.
I would take them in and take them to the nearest police station.
Got you. All right.
Just for her safety and my safety.
Right. And so we both agree that we have to do something.
You have to.
You
have
got
to do something.
Because I always tell people, when you don't act, then that person's next actions can be an action that can cause bodily harm or injury to someone else. And then you never want to live in a life regretting that you didn't do anything. And all you had to do was stop and say,
just
hey,
1 second. It takes
okay?
1 second. Yeah. Just to say if you're okay.
Can I help you?
Exactly.
And it's not always about money, people. It's about love. It's about in your job and your journey and your mission for God.
Absolutely.
All right, Nick, what you got? Nick got a cricket finger. She got one. She said, She said the Archie Beslow show is #1. That's why Nick got that one finger.
I just wanted to
Yes, ma'am.
tell all the survivors out there, or if you're going through something, you're not alone. You're not alone. God does hear your prayers, even though you feel you're alone. You are being heard. And speak out. Don't be ashamed. It's okay. You're not the first and you won't be the last. But we all have to speak out. It is not normal to live like that.
I'm going to talk. Hey, nigga, go ahead and start my music. I can't, because I don't want to come behind Miss Maritza with that. Thank God. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for coming to Archie Beslow Show on 95.9 FM, 1450 AM, WODCnews.com, where information is power. See you guys next week. All right. Another. Hey, say hello to the listeners.
Thank you guys. Love you.
All right. It's a wrap. Thank you for tuning in. Domestic violence is a very serious issue. If you know anyone that's going through it, please give them a phone call. Give them a hug. Take them out. Sometimes you ain't got to always talk. You can just listen. Listening goes a long way. All right?
Listen.
Until next week, I love you guys. Peace.